Hey guys, how's it going? It's Leon here. Today I want to talk about non-judgment and how you could bring it into your life so that you could have and maintain greater calmness and peacefulness within yourself. Because what happens when we have a very judgmental and critical mind is that we start to experience a lot of tenseness and unease within. So when we could be able to incorporate a practice of non-judgment into our own lives, this judgmental mind does not have control over us, and we could feel greater calmness and peacefulness within. When our minds judge, what happens is that it labels things as being good or bad very quickly. It's an automatic process that's actually difficult to help. And the key thing is to not judge the judging, because the judgmental mind doing its filtering, this is an automatic process. If we try to control this process completely, that's something that is impossible to do. So I'm going to first start off with an example from my own life in which I find myself to be in a judgmental state of mind, and how I was able to turn that into a non-judgmental state of mind, go from one state to the other. So when I am in a New York City subway, I could be really stressed out because of how many people there are, how much it smells, how dirty it is. There's just a lot of noises. And then, the train may be late, and I start to have my mind go into a judgmental state. And when that happens, I even start to think about things that are not related to the subway at all. Like I start to spiral and think about negative things in general. So I know when I get into the subway, that is a trigger, but I learned that I could treat the subway system as a form of a way that I could cultivate myself to establish a more meditative, non-judgmental state of mind. So I notice when I get into the subway, I tend to have a certain kind of reaction within that's automatic. So within I have tension, right? And right after that tension, I have these negative thoughts and emotions, and it happens all in a flash. When I become aware of this, this is the first step to reaching non-judgment, because when we get into a judgmental state, it happens in a flash. We're not even very consciously aware that it's happening at first. So now I know I could consciously go into the subway and kind of anticipate maybe I will have this kind of response. And something that helps me to kind of wake up and know that I will have that response is that I sense that tension build up inside. It's and I go aha, I notice that I am getting into the state right now, and I notice the thoughts and I notice the emotions. So when you're doing this noticing exercise, it's a form of non-judgment. So you are not judging the judging, because you can't fight fire with fire. You can't fight judgment with judgment. You're just going to make that judgment become bigger. You can notice the judgment is there. You don't push it away, because you can't push away negative thoughts, because then they become bigger. But you could not judge the judging and just see and notice it there. And when I practice this awareness exercise, then I just look around me and just take in that environment. Like when I'm in a subway car, I just take in what I see. What are 5 things I see? What are 4 things that I hear? And that starts to ground me. I start to absorb more of what's going on. And I notice I also do this when it comes to going to social groups. I may have some sort of opinion or kind of a judgment beforehand about what this group is about. Maybe this group is going to be boring, for example. So I'm going to first have that flash negative judgmental thought, right? But if I stick with a group long enough and just take in more of what's going on, take in more of the conversation, take in more of what I see, then I start to look at the situation differently. I start to take in more from non-judgmental state of mind. So the key thing is, the process here is not to get rid of that flash judgment. We're human beings. It's part of the human condition that we have these flash judgments that arise. But it's really what we do afterwards that matters. So you start to feel that inner intense reaction start to show up, but then you take in more of the surrounding environment. You take in more information. So you might have an opinion about someone that happens in a flash, right? But you just remain curious about that person, ask them more questions, and just take in more information, and that will help you to become less judgmental. So you can think about how you could incorporate this practice into your own life. Think about a situation that you get into in which your mind makes these flash judgments, and treat this as an exercise in non-judgment, that every single time you go into that situation, to notice those flash judgments take place, become curious about them, and just be noticed and just like be aware of them in a meditative way, while also becoming curious about the world around you. Be curious about the situation that you're judging, and curiosity is the antidote to judgment. So if you like this content, you're welcome to read an article that I've written about judgment and overcoming that feeling of judgment within oneself. Thank you so much for watching this.